Glory be to God. Welcome to the Kingdom Women channel where Living for God is made practical. I'm Mariah. Thanks for tuning in today. So today I'm going to be talking about trust. So if you are someone who has struggled with trust issues or you have been hurt because of your trust in other people, you are going to want to stay tuned until the end of the video. Let's go. Let's dive right in, y'all. So today we're going to be talking about trust. And I really don't know why this is on my mind other than the word. But trust is a very important topic. I believe there are a lot of people in the world who are struggling with this and in this area because sometimes we have misplaced trust. And when we have misplaced trust, we end up getting our feelings hurt. And because we go through times where we get our feelings hurt related to our trust in other people, we go throughout life with trust issues or believing that we can no longer trust anyone in the world ever, and we have a hardened heart because of our trust issues, right? And that prevents us from being able to establish long-lasting connections with other people because we really deep down just don't want to be hurt again. So I want to shed some light on this topic and talk about trust and trust issues and what it says in the Word of God pertaining to this topic. Proverbs 3:5 tells us to trust in the Lord with all our heart and do not lean on our understanding. And Psalms 56 verses 3-4 says that when I'm afraid, I put my trust in you, in God, whose word I praise, in God I trust. Okay? So, those are just a couple scriptures really fast about trust. And each of those scriptures tells us to put our trust in God. So our total trust, our total faith, our total reliance should be in God. However, we have connections with other people throughout this world. We establish relationships throughout our time here on this earth, right? And because of those relationships we establish, there is a certain amount of trust allotted to each and every one of those relationships. Now, where we tend to make our hiccups is in placing trust in people who haven't earned it. We should, as it relates to the people we interact with throughout this earth, give the amount of trust to each individual according to their position in our lives and their actions. So based on who they are to us, based on the relationship we have between the two of us, and based on their actions, because someone can be a very important person in our lives, like a mother or a brother, and because of their actions, they cannot be allotted the typical amount of trust that a mother or a brother should be allotted, right? So, we take the position, who they are to us, into consideration, but we also take into consideration their actions, right? Now, in another example, we can give trust to our mailman, right? We can trust that Monday through Saturday our mailman will show up and deliver the mail if we have any mail for that day, right? So, we give trust and we trust people according to their actions. Now, when it comes to the mailman, we don't give the mailman the keys to our house. We don't give the mailman the amount of trust that we would give someone who lives in our home or someone who has an intimate relationship with us, because that isn't the appropriate amount of trust, the appropriate type of trust to give to someone who is in that position, right? But because of the consistency that they have, because of their actions, we can place a certain amount of trust in that person. But here's what I want to say. Trust is subjective. Trust, the amount of trust we give to each individual varies from person to person, from relationship to relationship, right? And so a lot of people, I think, may pursue trust or take on trust as a one-size-fits-all type thing and believe that, oh, I can trust you, but I can't trust you. But honestly, we can trust everybody just at different levels. You know what I'm saying? The mailman, for example, mother or brother, for example. We can place a certain amount of trust in our enemies. We can trust that Satan is going to show up. You know what I'm saying? We can trust that he's going to show up on that trash with that same old stuff that he always tries to do. And that we can depend on. That we know he's going to do. You know what I'm saying? So we can dish out trust. It's not that we can't dish this trust out, but maybe sometimes our trust is misplaced, right? Because of the consistency of Satan, because he is always out to steal, kill, and destroy, because he is out to devour us, because he wants to take us to hell, we can trust in his consistency, in his nature, in who he is, right? We don't open the door and let him in, but we know that he's going to show up, right? So we know and can be prepared for that. You know what I'm saying? And on the flip side, we can trust in the Lord, right? And lean not to our own understanding. But we can't trust that God won't take us through hard times. As a matter of fact, we know God will take us through hard times. You know what I'm saying? We know that many are the afflictions of the righteous. And so when it comes to trust, you know what I'm saying, and putting your complete total trust in the Lord, you may be like, well, if, you know, I'm going to have a relationship with God that leads me through hardship and pain, why would I trust him? Why would I put my total trust and faith in him? Why would I love him? Why would I serve him if I'm going to go through hardships? Why don't I just stay out here in the world and sin like everybody else does? Why, you know, why pursue God? Why pursue what he is presenting before me? Here's why. Because if Jesus is our example, and Jesus had a hard life, Jesus struggled in his life, who are we to anticipate that we won't have to struggle? He struggled for us. He died and suffered and was tortured for us. He went to hell, all the way to hell for us. You know what I'm saying? And I think it may be a little arrogant for us to take on that stance. Like, why do we have to suffer? I'm not really sure where we get this idea that we'll never have to go through anything. That isn't in the Bible, you know, anywhere at all. We're going to go through things. You know what I'm saying? And the difference between allowing anyone to put us through anything and allowing God to put us through anything, or not anything, but allowing God to put us through hard times, through tests and trials and tribulation, is that God will deliver us out of them all. When God puts us through something, he's going to deliver us. He's going to bring us out on the other end better than who we were before we went into that thing, if we keep our faith in him. Now, if we go through something, if we are presented with a test, a trial, some type of tribulation, and we don't navigate through that process with our faith in God, holding on to God's unchanging hand, we won't become the person that he intended for us to be when he led us down that path. You know what I'm saying? You can't give up on God and anticipate the victory, the restoration, you know what I'm saying, the harvest after you've gone through that. You can't, you know, go through a Job experience, lose your faith in God, and expect double for your trouble on the other side. And that's the difference. God puts us through tests, trials, and tribulations so that we can become the best version of ourselves. And sometimes that test, that trial, that tribulation is what it took to produce the best of you, the best version of you. You know what I'm saying? Now, on the other hand, if you allow a man, as in a human, to put you through anything, any old thing, any type of test, trial, tribulation, hurt you, harm you, betray your trust. He doesn't have the power to make you a better version of yourself. And most likely, if that is happening where someone has betrayed your trust in that way and is hurting you or harming you, they're probably being influenced by the devil. And I'm just keeping it real. You know what I'm saying? Putting your trust in a man won't benefit you because they don't have the power to produce a better life for you. You know, and this is why we put our trust in God alone, because on the other side of whatever we go through, He is going to produce something for us. He is going to produce the harvest from what we sowed in that test, trial, and tribulation. Okay? Now, back to people. What I want to close with and reiterate is that if we are able to discern, use our discernment to help us understand how much trust each person should be afforded and the type of trust each person should be afforded, then we can have more successful relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so I'm gonna use people off of Martin because we all watch Martin, and I believe that a lot of people will be able to relate. We can trust that bruh man from the 5th floor is coming over. So we can trust that we probably need some sandwich meat. You know what I'm saying? Every time we buy some sandwich meat and a little bit less is there than what we anticipated, it probably was bruh man. You know what I'm saying? And we can trust that he's not coming through the door. He's coming through the window. You know what I'm saying? And, you know what I'm saying? Based on that person's actions, that is the type of trust he should be given. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, we never close that window. So we must trust Brother Man somehow. He don't never steal none of the sandwich meat. You know what I'm saying? And we have to decipher, we have to discern, you know what I'm saying, the spirits on people to know the type of trust they are given. If we're Martin and Gina is our mate, you know what I'm saying, we give her the type of trust that a mate should have. If we're Gina and we are relating our trust to Martin, we give him the type of trust that a mate should have, because they go from girlfriend and boyfriend to husband and wife. You know what I'm saying? So they have a different type of trust with each other than they all have with their friends, with Tommy and Pam and Cole. You know what I'm saying? But Martin and Gina, they all have a level of trust for Tommy, Pam, and Cole. You know what I'm saying? And the other characters, you know what I'm saying? Jerome didn't have access to the house. Everybody knew who Jerome was, but he couldn't have access to the house. He couldn't just be in the house when they weren't there. Pam, Cole, and Tommy could be in the house when Martin and Gina weren't there. You know what I'm saying? Different type of trust is allotted to different people. You know what I'm saying? And if you give someone who hasn't earned your trust a level of trust that they haven't earned or haven't deserved, then you are setting yourself up to be hurt. You know, there are also times where we trust someone who betrays us. You know what I'm saying? And it happens. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want you to harden your heart to everybody because of that. I want you to use your discernment. You know what I'm saying? And look for the red flags in those people. Sometimes it has to happen. You know what I'm saying? Just like with Jesus and Judas. Sometimes we are betrayed to learn a lesson. Sometimes we are betrayed for a blessing. You know what I'm saying? So that type of hurt and pain and betrayal, you have to take that to God. If that's you. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to live your life with a hardened heart because you were in that situation. You take that situation to God and disclose it to Him, reveal it to Him, be open and honest to Him about your feelings and what you're battling with. You know, tell Him every single last detail you need to tell Him. You know what I'm saying? And Keep communicating with them until he heals you. You know what I'm saying? But don't go around with a hard heart, you know, because people move on with their lives. While you have a hard heart, people have moved on with their lives. And they are doing whatever they want to do with their lives. They're happy and doing whatever, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want you to let something like a trust issue stop you from living your best life. And trust me, you live a better life when you don't have a heart and hurt. So, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down in the comment section. And I might make another video just for you. Until next time.